Can everybody hear me clearly and see the presentation?
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you to everyone for being here today. Thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity and privilege to share a little bit of my journey to entomology, into grad program, and then transitioning into industry. So let's jump in. Quick intro. My name is Gabe or Gabriel. I'm currently the manager for R&D operations at Upward Farms, which is a vertical farming AgTech company based out of Brooklyn, New York. Just a quick roadmap. I'm going to take a little bit of a slightly different approach with my talk. I'll be following a lot of the prompts that were provided, but as I started to sort of think about how to answer those prompts and sort of go back to memory lane, I thought it'd be interesting to just kind of throw up mostly photos of what the grad experience kind of was for me. What was the kind of work that I got to do? What did I get to see? What were some of the fun times, what some of the fun times with colleagues look like. So, enjoy the photos and hopefully I can kind of talk from the heart along the way with some brief kind of flags to guide me along the way. So, the first prompt was, what moment or experience or set of experiences inspired, a move into entomology and eventually, to look at grad school. So I really enjoyed, thinking about this question and how to answer it. It really let me take a stroll back through time with respect to thinking about key points in my experience as as an individual, as an academic, and as a professional, that led me to that to that place. So some of my earliest memories were really as a toddler age. So I grew up as a toddler on my grandfather's farm in Colombia. My grandfather was a coffee, citrus, and sugarcane grower with a passion for insects. So he had rooms dedicated to, one of his most favorite hobbies, which was insect collection and mounting and displaying. And I remember, some of my earliest memories and few memories as a toddler was of, connecting with him, sitting next to him and watching him, in his craft and his hobby and connecting with him there. Fast forward to me and my family relocating to the US. I grew up, in the concrete jungles of Queens, New York City. And as a young elementary school age kid, I remember spending a lot of time observing and interacting with insect life in the small pockets of, small and rare pockets of natural landscape that were accessible to me, backyards and gardens and such. But that's really where I can point to, just a total fascination with living systems coming to life for me. As a teen, I temporarily abandoned, those interests for the things that kind of align more with teenage life and lifestyle, and so hang out with friends and being social and doing fun things. And it wasn't until towards the end of high school where I kind of started thinking about entomology again, right? You get to that point where it's like, okay, what are you going to do? What do you want to be? What's your major going to be? And so I discovered that, there were schools with entomology programs and that could actually be a thing that I could return to. And so I applied to a few. I got into, I got into a few. I decided to go to Cornell, but I enrolled as a bio major to start. So I purposely withheld entomology for myself at the beginning, um, really mostly as a matter of pragmatism. So it had always been this passion and this interest, but I couldn't reconcile, or I see a way through to a viable, profession at the end of the day. So I enrolled as a bio major, and long story short, there, I mean, it wasn't long before I was unhappy, and everybody around me wasn't happy as a like pre-med bio major at Cornell, and I decided to, take an intro to entomology course for majors, um, as one of my electives. And the experience was like night and day. Everybody was energized, the faculty, the students, me. I loved every second of it. And it wasn't long before I changed my major and just went with it. So after graduating, I got into the field of infectious diseases for 4 years. So I took a pivot. There I coordinated projects and was able to lead. That was my first experience in being able to lead my first team. So I got to do research, manage, and coach, which I had to develop a passion for during my undergrad, and also have some autonomy over how to go about doing those things and completing projects. At the same time, I was refining my interests as a scholar. So something had begun to happen towards the end of my undergrad where I had always been interested in animal behavior, um, and ecology, and had focused mostly on organismal behavior during my undergrad studies, but I discovered social psychology, so I added basically one more species to that exploration of behavior. And so I continued that course of study after my undergrad at Columbia University. So I enrolled as a student half-time. I was working full-time, and got my immersion into social psychology that way. After a few years, I began to sort of reconcile, my interests based on, scholarship and my professional experience. And I got to the point where I put together a crayon to paper plan for my life, or for my next step. And that was going to be that I wanted to study, social behavior, preferably in an insect system at a top program led by amazing talent. And as a phase two, I would integrate that human component, that human element that I enjoyed and that I liked, by attempting to apply that skill set in a business or industry setting. So before I get into challenges, I mean, overall, my graduate experience was like really positive. I loved my lab, my colleagues, my topic, my program, my advisor, really everything. I just, not a lot to complain about, but I think generally speaking, there are, and high level, there are elements that are consistent challenges, I think, in grad school. And one is this concept or element of like isolation. You're kind of in a bubble. so it was often the case, at least for myself, where I found myself like kind of looking out of the bubble, and I would be able to see colleagues that, you know, they hadn't gone to grad school, they were getting their first job and then getting their first promotion, getting their second promotion, and kind of living life. And I was in I was in my research bubble, so sort of grinding away. So that, you know, that juxtaposition is definitely a challenge, that needed to be navigated continuously. Something else that I found was that it's not a one-time commitment. It wasn't like, all right, I'm going to go to grad school. I'm doing it, and then you just go. It's a long endeavor. So life happens along the way, and life throws you a lot of punches, and I definitely got punched a handful of times during the course of my program, and each time you kind of have to recommit. You're like, yeah, I'm still in the game, still loving it. This is still the right choice, and so you will be tested in all likelihood a couple of times, and you face that, those pivot points where you're forced to recommit or reconsider. And then you know, last one is uncertainty. So, you know, trying to push the boundary of knowledge in any field, there's a lot of uncertainty and risk laden with that. And so depending on how you deal with those elements, that can pose particular challenges to you and your perspective. So those were some challenges. Sacrifices for me, I found that there was a, you know, and this is along the lines of what I said about, like, you know, committing and recommitting. I find myself consistently having to choose my grad career over elements of life, and so that meant different things across different times along the way. So at times it might have felt like neglecting friendships or family, and often kind of myself and other things that I wanted to do. Definitely made it challenging to maintain relationships. And for me, it was very much about putting my future on hold. So, you know, I was working before making the decision to return, or well, to go to grad school. And so you know, I did put financial goals on hold. I did limit or stunt my earning potential for a period of time, and so that was a real consideration. And then also, it's, you know, it's a major commitment of your time. So, right, you only have so much to go around and put in different buckets, and so if you're putting a lot of it in your grad program, then you're taking away from other things. You're taking away from time with family and friends, and so that's another consideration in terms of sacrifice. But lots of successes and highlights. I mean, you know, one of the things that I can flag right away is I definitely leveled up big time. Not only in my technical, you know, skill set and toolkit, which expanded tremendously, but as an individual, you know, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about life along the way. What is meaningful, what is not, you know. Got to, you know, you get to build a little bit of a legacy, changing the landscape of what is known about the natural world. Is, you know, it's a really special opportunity and privilege. And so and you get to do that, right? So that's definitely a highlight. And aggregating a lot of that growth, a lot of for me, what came from that was just a lot of confidence in terms of um, knowing that any challenge, any problem likely has a solution, and um, I alone or collaboratively with the right support and talent around me, able to navigate whatever challenges may come as a professional, and as an individual as well. Um, some of your typical measures of success in grad school or in academia, funding and publications. I got both of those, so shout out to the Sloan Foundation, to the USDA. So I was a Sloan Scholar and a USDA Pre-Doc Fellow, and garnered, I think also garnered a SARE Award, and had a decent set of publications by the time I was wrapping up my PhD program as well. Highlights: lifelong friendships were formed along the way. Really, like I said, really love my department and the people that I got to go through that journey with. And last but not least, and special flag for this, I mean, it is an absolutely special experience and privilege to get to work with and learn from the smartest people like in your field, in the world, that across all of time. Long pause. It's really special, and I'm continuously grateful to have been able to experience that. So that was an amazing highlight for me. Transitioning into industry. So so I knew I wanted to be in industry, in some middle ground where I was still very much tied to the science, and to the leadership of technical teams and activities, but also close to and influencing the business strategy and development plan, right? So entomology is an agriculturally relevant and adjacent field that ultimately led me to find the AgTech industry field, and specifically the functions of R&D and quality. So there were a couple of things that I decided were going to be important for me to have in my future role, and that was, I wanted to be a subject matter expert in my position, and my degree allowed me to bring credibility to that subject matter expertise. I wanted to be a people manager and coach, so that aligned with something that I'm passionate about, that I find very fulfilling, and that was also very much supported by my academic and professional experience in grad school, and more related to like sort of my internal wiring. I mean, I wanted that human element. I wanted a little bit of that soft skill element, where I could be a deal maker, a negotiator. I could be a shot caller, and a strategic and tactical advisor, right? And that aligned with my internal wiring and interests, and specific interest in the personal and business development side of things. That part was less supported by my academic training, but all those three elements together kind of led me to dig into the AgTech industry, specifically in the functions of R&D and quality, from a management capacity. So the first role that was a good fit across that criteria was a management position at Copert Biological Systems. So Copert is a biologicals company. It specializes in the manufacturing of IPM, or integrated pest management products, that aim to help growers provide sustainable crop protection and crop support solutions for their growing operations. At the time, when I was, in the middle of that transition space, Copert had some lofty goals. They were needing to turn the corner on the development of a new pollinator for the Western U.S. It would have been the first new pollinator in something like 10 or 15 years that had been or would be introduced to the market. They wanted to lower the risk by decentralizing their manufacturing of products. So they wanted to expand manufacturing across different business units across the world, and primarily focused on the US. And so they needed someone that could help drive, product development, that could help build the early frameworks and teams for R&D and for quality assurance. And they're in position, US operations for success on those key goals. So that was what I was focused on, up until about 6 months ago. And after having done that successfully and set that up, I started, to look for other, for what would be my next challenge, and another opportunity. And this time, I found vertical farming to be a compelling next step. So for years, I had worked for growers at Copert Biological, and so working as a grower was very much in step as a next move for me. So I wanted to do something that was fresh and cutting edge, get closer to the tech industry, and try to do it in a startup environment as well, right? So Upward Farms was a great fit because they were, in addition to hitting all those points that I mentioned before, they were also working on integrating a variety of biological systems together. They're an aquaponic vertical farm, so integrating, your fish with your microbiomes, with your plant growth systems, all under a tech infrastructure. So at Upward Farms, I've provided tactical and strategic direction to a wide variety of business objectives, which include expansion to new facilities, new product development, existing product and process improvement, team development, etc. So I think I'll keep it high level for now and stop there, and we can get into the nitty-gritty during breakout sessions if you guys want. But thanks for your attention and time.